All right, let's dive into the richest man in Babylon. Get ready for a trip back in time to ancient Babylon, a city known for its incredible wealth.
A city of wisdom, too.
Right. We're going to unpack some excerpts from this classic personal finance book by George S. Clason.
A classic, published back in the 1920s.
See how these age-old principles can still apply to your life today? It's pretty amazing how advice from back then can be so relevant, isn't it?
What's fascinating is how Clason used parables set in ancient Babylon to frame his financial advice.
It's like he's saying, hey, if it worked way back then, it can work for you now.
Exactly.
The book centers around Arcad, who went from a simple scribe to the richest man in Babylon.
And his secret. He was eager to learn all about building wealth, and then, of course, he put what he learned into practice.
So how did he make that leap from ordinary scribe to a man of immense wealth?
The key was learning from Algamish, a wealthy moneylender. Algamish taught him that wealth wasn't about luck or inheritance.
You had to understand and apply specific principles.
Exactly. And those are what Clason outlines as the 7 cures for a lean purse.
So these cures, they're surprisingly straightforward.
And relevant even today.
The first cure is start thy purse to fattening. So basically save at least 10% of your earnings.
Clason really emphasizes paying yourself first.
He uses this great analogy to illustrate it about an egg merchant.
Oh yeah, the egg merchant. Putting 10 eggs in a basket every morning, but taking out 9 every evening.
Eventually, what happens?
That basket overflows.
Exactly. It's such a simple way to visualize the power of saving, right?
Simple, but powerful. And think about how you could apply this today.
Oh, like setting up those automatic transfers to a savings account.
Right, so you're consistently paying yourself first.
Before you even have a chance to spend it. Great idea. Now, the second cure is about controlling your spending, which basically means creating a budget. Clason says your necessary expenses should not exceed 90% of your income.
Leaving that 10% for saving.
We've got so many budgeting apps these days, don't we?
Absolutely. Technology can be a big help with money management.
It's a far cry from the clay tablets they used back in Babylon. Okay, the third cure is make thy gold multiply.
Clason believed that gold just sitting there earns nothing. You got to invest wisely. Make those savings generate even more income.
He even tells a story about a man who invested in a loan to buy bricks for a city wall. And that small investment grew substantially over time.
Reminds me of compound interest, something we hear about all the time.
It's crazy to think Clason was talking about this concept almost a century ago.
It is amazing. Compound interest, it's like a snowball effect.
Your money earns interest, and then that interest earns interest.
And so on and so on. It really is a powerful way to grow your wealth.
Now, the fourth cure is all about guarding your treasures from loss. Clason warns about risky investments.
You got to protect that principle.
He shares the story about losing his savings because he trusted the wrong person when buying jewels.
Emphasizes the importance of getting advice from real experts.
Like the saying goes, don't take financial advice from a barber. The fifth cure is about making your dwelling a profitable investment.
Owning your own home.
It's interesting because owning a home wasn't as common in ancient Babylon, but Clason saw it as a big advantage.
No rent to pay.
Mm.
And it could potentially increase in value over time.
Is owning a home still a smart move today, though?
Well, that depends. Owning a home can be great, but it comes with responsibilities too. Costs, property taxes, maintenance.
And then there's always that potential for the housing market to go up and down. You have to weigh all the pros and cons.
Definitely.
All right, the sixth cure is ensure a future income.
Basically what we call retirement planning today.
Right. Clason was way ahead of his time when he stressed putting aside funds for your later years.
He even talks about something similar to life insurance.
Making regular payments to ensure a payout for your family if something happens to you.
Pretty forward thinking for way back then.
The seventh and final cure is increase the ability to earn.
Learning new skills.
Exactly. Clason believed that learning and developing your skills are essential to growing your income. So even in ancient Babylon, he was all about that forward-thinking mindset.
You like invest in yourself.
Absolutely. Now, beyond the 7 cures, the richest man in Babylon also gives us 5 fundamental laws of gold.
Considered the bedrock of financial success.
These laws are like the golden rules of building wealth, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. They were inscribed on a clay tablet given to Arcad by his father, when he was sent out to prove he could handle wealth. The first law states, gold cometh gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family. Sound familiar?
It sure does. Echoes the first cure, saving at least 10% of your income.
Right. Now, the second law, it says, gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field.
Okay, so this is all about making your money work for you through investments, just like the third cure, making your gold multiply.
Exactly. Then the third law, gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. Caution.
Reminds me of the fourth cure, guarding your treasures.
Right. And seeking advice from experts, like getting a second opinion before a big financial decision.
Great analogy. Now, the fourth law, gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep.
Do your research.
Understand what you're getting into.
You wouldn't undergo surgery without consulting a specialist, would you? Investing deserves the same level of care.
And finally, the fifth law of gold. Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment.
Be careful of unrealistic expectations, get-rich-quick schemes, and impulsive actions. Think carefully about how you manage your wealth.
Clayson's basically giving us a roadmap to navigate the world of finance with these 5 laws.
A roadmap.
I like that.
And I love how he uses storytelling to convey these lessons.
Me too! It's not just boring theory. He pulls you in with these great stories.
Absolutely. Like the story of Nomasir, Arkad's son. Remember, he's given a bag of gold.
And that clay tablet with the 5 laws of gold. He has to use this wealth wisely to prove he's worthy of inheriting his father's estate.
A big responsibility.
But he ends up blowing all his gold by falling for those get-rich-quick schemes and ignoring those 5 laws.
A tough lesson. It's a powerful illustration of what can happen if you don't follow these basic principles.
He really does learn the hard way. And it's only when he rediscovers that wisdom on the clay tablet, when he actually starts applying the 5 laws, that's when he begins to build real wealth.
He turns it all around.
And this idea of protection is further explored in another story, The Walls of Babylon.
Ah, yes, the walls. Clayson uses the strong walls of Babylon, protecting the city from invaders, to illustrate the importance of protecting your wealth.
In modern times, those walls would be like insurance.
Savings accounts, dependable investments.
There are defenses against financial hardship.
Exactly, our financial safeguards.
Now, we can't forget about Dabesir, the camel trader. He escapes slavery and ends up back in Babylon.
But burdened by debt.
It feels hopeless at first.
He's tempted to run away from his obligations.
But then he meets this wise woman who completely changes his perspective.
She tells him, running away won't solve anything. Confront your debts. Take control.
Such important advice. She's basically saying, don't let debt define you. You have the power to change things. And he takes her advice to heart. He commits to paying back his debts, even if it's just a little bit at a time.
Great a little.
He works hard, saves diligently.
And slowly but surely.
He chips away at that debt.
Until he's completely debt-free.
It really shows the power of persistence.
And a positive attitude. And you know what else it emphasizes? Dealing honestly and fairly with creditors.
He doesn't try to hide. He's open with the people he owes.
And that earns him respect and support.
Exactly. Now, there's another great story about Sharunada, a successful merchant who wants nothing more than to pass on his wisdom to his grandson, Hadangula.
Hadangula represents a challenge a lot of us face. He inherited wealth, but doesn't really get how it was built. Used to a life of privilege.
Thinks wealth should come easily.
It's that classic clash between the older generation who built their wealth through hard work.
And the younger generation who might take it for granted.
Exactly.
Now, Sharunada, being the wise guy he is, wants to teach his grandson the value of hard work.
But does Hadangula listen at first? Nope.
Sharunada, instead of just lecturing him, decides to tell his grandson stories about his own journey.
Oh yeah, starting as a slave in Babylon.
Working his way up to becoming a successful merchant. His willingness to work hard earned him respect and skills.
And led him to success.
It's a powerful message. Work isn't just about earning money, it's about building character, developing skills, earning respect.
Things money can't buy.
And that really resonated with his grandson. He finally started to understand the true value of hard work and appreciate his grandfather's legacy.
Sometimes the best way to teach is through stories. Let others learn from your journey.
Absolutely. The Richest Man in Babylon also has this unique section called The Clay Tablets from Babylon. It's like a fictionalized diary of Dabasir's journey out of debt.
Step by step, how he applied what he learned, documented his earnings, savings, and payments.
Like an ancient budgeting spreadsheet. What's interesting is these tablets are presented as a discovery by an archaeologist.
Alfred H. Shrewsbury.
Right. Initially, he's like, what can these old tablets possibly teach me about money today?
But as he studies them,
He realizes the timeless wisdom. He even admits to using Dabasir's debt repayment plan to overcome his own financial struggles.
amazing, right? Good financial advice can truly stand the test of time.
Totally. Now, a recurring theme in The Richest Man in Babylon is luck.
There's even a section called Meet the Goddess of Good Luck.
It starts with this idea, like if you're lucky, you could fall into the Euphrates River and come out with a pearl in your hand. It's a fun way to introduce the idea.
But then it explores whether luck is just chance, or if our actions can actually influence it.
Do you think we can create our own luck?
I think we can definitely increase our chances, encountering those favorable circumstances.
Or like the characters in the book learn.
Luck favors those who are prepared, those who take action and create opportunities.
So it's not just about sitting back and waiting for good things to happen.
You got to work towards those goals.
Put yourself in a position to succeed.
Absolutely. The Richest Man in Babylon has another section, The Gold Lender of Babylon. It focuses on Mathon, a wise moneylender.
He gives some great advice to Rodan, a spearmaker who's received a gift of 50 pieces of gold.
Mathon is full of financial wisdom, especially about lending and borrowing.
He really stresses the importance of careful consideration, safe investments, and understanding the risks involved.
He uses this chest filled with tokens.
Each token representing a loan he's made.
Some happy stories, some not so happy.
It highlights why people borrow and the consequences of wise and unwise lending. It makes a whole concept more relatable, don't you think?
Definitely. It reminds us that money is tied to people's lives, their hopes and dreams, not just numbers.
Mathon actually advises Rodan to keep his 50 pieces of gold. Invest them wisely.
Instead of lending them to his brother-in-law, who has no business experience.
It's a tough but important lesson about setting boundaries.
Sometimes you can't mix family and finances.
True generosity isn't about bailing people out, but helping them become self-sufficient.
Well said.
One thing I really like about The Richest Man in Babylon is how it portrays ancient Babylonian society.
We get glimpses into their daily life, culture, and beliefs.
It's like we're not just learning about personal finance, but getting a history lesson as well.
And a glimpse into a lost world.
Reminds us that even though these stories are set in ancient Babylon, the human desires and challenges they explore are timeless.
They really are.
One of the most thought-provoking stories is about Sharunada.
The successful merchant.
He meets a man named Arad Gula, who considers himself the luckiest man in Babylon.
Arad Gula's story is fascinating because he was born into wealth, but then a bunch of misfortunes completely changed his life.
He was captured and sold into slavery.
Lost everything. Makes you rethink the whole idea of luck.
It does.
But despite this, Arad Gula still felt lucky.
He explained that those experiences taught him about resilience.
And the importance of hard work. He believes they made him stronger, wiser, and shaped him into the successful person he is.
It's like a completely different perspective, right? It makes you think about how you view your own setbacks.
Could they be opportunities for growth?
Absolutely. He sees his misfortunes not as punishment, but as chances to learn and improve.
Ties back to that theme of work, right?
Right. Sharunada trying to teach his grandson the value of hard work.
Arad Gula, he believes work was essential to his comeback. It helped him gain skills, earn respect, and regain influence.
It really reinforces the idea that work can be a powerful force for good.
Not just about money.
But about personal growth, a fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
Now, The Richest Man in Babylon is a collection of parables and stories, each with its own title and focus.
It allows Klassen to explore different aspects of personal finance. Makes it really easy to understand and engaging.
It's like reading a book of short stories, each offering insights into wealth building.
I like that.
And even though they're separate stories, they're all connected, reinforcing those core principles.
It's like each story is a puzzle piece.
When you put them all together, you get the complete picture of financial wisdom. And what's remarkable is how relevant these principles still are almost a century later.
The core concepts are still valid. Saving, budgeting, investing wisely, seeking expert advice.
Just as important today as they were in ancient Babylon.
It shows how fundamental they are.
They transcend time and culture.
Anyone who wants to build a solid financial foundation can use them.
The Richest Man in Babylon is a testament to that enduring power.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Back again for more Richest Man in Babylon. It's fascinating how this book, written almost a century ago, foreshadows so many modern financial concepts. It's like a financial time capsule.
It really is. So, how do we take these Babylonian principles and apply them to today's world? Let's start with those 7 cures. That first one, start thy purse to fattening, is all about paying yourself first. It sounds simple, but it's something so many people struggle with.
So true. We often get caught up in our daily expenses and forget to prioritize saving.
Exactly.
Klassen's advice is to automate it.
Make it automatic.
Imagine 10% of your income going straight to your savings or investment account before you even have a chance to touch it.
Out of sight, out of mind, right? But let's be realistic. For someone living paycheck to paycheck, saving 10% might seem impossible.
That's where the second cure comes in. Control thy expenditures. Budgeting.
Tracking your spend.
Making sure you're not living beyond your means.
Right.
Even if you can't save 10% right away, you can start small. Identify areas where you can cut back. Gradually increase your savings rate over time.
It's all about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Every dollar saved is a dollar invested in your future.
I like that. And thankfully, we have so many tools available today to help us budget. Those budgeting apps can be real game changers.
Absolutely. Technology is a great asset. Okay, let's move on to the third cure. Make thy gold multiply. This is where things get a bit tricky. The investment landscape today is vastly different from Klassen's time.
Yeah, no kidding. Instead of investing in bricks for city walls, we have stocks, bonds, real estate. It's a whole different ballgame.
So many options. It can be a little overwhelming.
It really can. How do we make wise investment choices? Choices that align with our goals and risk tolerance.
Well, first you need to understand the basics. Educate yourself about different investment options. Learn about the risks involved and, of course, the potential returns.
So step 1 is becoming financially literate.
Exactly. Don't just follow the crowd. Understand what you're getting into. Next, diversification is key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Makes sense. Spread those investments around.
Right. It helps mitigate risk and could potentially boost your returns in the long run.
And what about risk tolerance? Some people are comfortable with high-risk investments, while others prefer a more conservative approach.
It's all about understanding your own comfort level.
Absolutely. If you're not comfortable with volatility, there are lower risk options out there. It's your money. You should feel good about where it's invested.
Exactly.
Now, the fourth cure, guard thy treasures from loss. This is a good reminder to be cautious. Do your research before jumping into any investment.
Precisely. No falling for get-rich-quick schemes. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Take the time to research, understand the risks, and make sure it fits with your financial goals.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype, especially with so much financial information available online. We might think we can be our own experts, but is that always the best approach?
Online resources can be helpful, but sometimes it's best to consult with a financial advisor.
Get that expert advice.
Exactly. Someone who can give you personalized advice based on your circumstances and goals. Think of them as your financial coach.
The fifth cure, make of thy dwelling a profitable investment, is intriguing. It seems simple. Buy a house and you're set. But is that always the case?
It's not always that cut and dry. While owning a home can be a good investment, it's not for everyone. You need to consider location, property taxes.
The overall cost of owning a home?
And remember, the housing market can fluctuate.
Renting might make more sense for some people.
Especially those who value flexibility, or those who aren't ready for the long-term commitment of homeownership.
It's about making informed choices that support your long-term well-being.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about ensure a future income, the sixth cure.
This feels more relevant than ever these days.
People are living longer. Retirement costs are rising.
We need to plan early.
Clason was ahead of his time, stressing the importance of preparing for your later years. And today, we have things like 401ks and IRAs.
Modern versions of what he was suggesting.
Consistently putting aside money for the future. It's like planting a tree. The earlier you plant it, the more shade you'll enjoy later.
I love that analogy. And we can't forget about that life insurance concept you touched upon. Making regular payments over time to protect your loved ones if something happens to you.
Pretty incredible foresight, right?
Definitely. Now, the seventh and final cure, increase thy ability to earn. This one has never been more crucial, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Technology is changing so rapidly, you have to adapt.
Become a lifelong learner.
Exactly. Clayson's message is to invest in yourself. Continuously develop new skills and knowledge. Take courses, attend workshops, read books. Just be curious. Explore new fields.
Constantly upgrade your skill set.
Exactly. Become more valuable no matter what you do.
Great advice. Let's revisit those 5 laws of gold. That first one, about saving at least 10% of your income. In today's world, with so many demands on our money, how can we actually make saving a priority?
One word.
Automate.
Automate your savings.
Exactly. Imagine this. You get paid, and before you even think about spending, 10% is automatically moved to your savings.
Like it never even existed.
Exactly. You can also track your spending, identify areas to cut back, maybe that daily latte or that subscription you don't really use. Small changes add up.
It's all about being mindful.
Being mindful and making choices that align with your long-term goals.
Speaking of goals, that second law of gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field, is all about putting your money to work through investments.
Making your money work for you.
But with so many options, how do we choose wisely?
It's easy to get lost in the sea of information. It really is. Some people say invest in what you know. Like, if you love coffee, invest in coffee companies. Is that good advice?
There's some logic to it, but don't limit yourself. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, even if it's something you're familiar with. Remember, diversification.
So even if you love coffee, don't bet the farm on coffee beans.
Exactly. Diversify, diversify, diversify.
What about those high-risk, high-reward investments? Are they ever worth it?
Well, it depends on your risk tolerance and your goals.
Right.
If you're young, you have more time to recover if things go south. You might be more comfortable taking risks. But if you're closer to retirement, maybe more conservative approach is better. There's no right or wrong answer. It's about what works for you.
The third law of gold. Gold clingeth to the protection of a cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling, stresses the importance of expert advice. But with so much information online, do we really need financial advisors anymore?
The internet is a great resource, but remember, not all information online is accurate.
Or reliable.
Exactly. It can be tough to sift through it all. Sometimes it's best to talk to a qualified advisor.
Get that professional guidance.
Right. Someone who can give you personalized advice based on your situation and goals.
Okay, but how do we find a good financial advisor? I've heard some horror stories. Advisors who push products or don't have their clients' best interests in mind.
Those stories are out there. It's important to be careful. Start by asking for referrals. Friends, family, colleagues, people you trust who have had good experiences with advisors. You can also check with professional organizations.
Do some research.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to interview a few advisors before choosing one.
Makes sense. What kind of questions should we be asking them?
Ask about their experience, their qualifications, their fees, and their overall approach to financial planning. Make sure you feel comfortably with them, that they understand your goals.
It's like finding a doctor. You want someone you trust. Now, the fourth law of gold. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep. It's all about doing your research, understanding your investments.
Don't just blindly follow trends. Take your time. Understand the investment. Understand the risks. And make sure it aligns with your goals. It's not like buying a car. You wouldn't just buy the first one you see, would you?
You'd shop around.
Exactly. And with investments, the stakes are even higher.
You're talking about your financial future. Due diligence is crucial.
Absolutely. And ask questions. If you don't understand something, ask. It's your money. You should feel confident in your decisions.
All right, on to the fifth and final law of gold. Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. It's a warning against those tempting get-rich-quick schemes.
Be realistic. Avoid those flashy promises. There's no magic formula for getting rich overnight. It takes time and effort.
Discipline. Be patient.
Exactly. Focus on the long game. Remember, slow and steady wins the race.
I love how the richest man in Babylon uses stories to teach these lessons.
They bring those dry principles to life.
Totally. Think about Nomasir, who squandered his father's gold on those get-rich-quick schemes.
You learned a tough lesson.
He did. It shows that shortcuts rarely work.
Making sound financial decisions requires patience and a good understanding of the fundamentals.
And then there's Dabasir, the camel trader who dug himself out of a mountain of debt.
His story is about taking responsibility no matter how overwhelming things seem.
He didn't run away from his debts, he tackled them head on.
Made a plan and stuck to it.
I love that he even went back to those he had wronged, explained his situation, and made a plan to repay them. It took time, but he did it. It shows real integrity.
It reminds us that even when things seem hopeless, there's always a way forward. It might not be easy.
But you have to take ownership.
Absolutely. Even small steps can make a huge difference.
What about Sharunada, the successful merchant, trying to teach his grandson the value of hard work?
Hadan Gula.
Yeah,
He had it all, but didn't appreciate it.
never had to work for it.
It's easy to take things for granted.
Sharunada, instead of lecturing, shared his own story, his journey.
Starting as a slave, working his way up.
It's a powerful lesson. Wealth isn't handed to you, it's earned.
It's about the journey, the hard work, the decisions you make.
The Richest Man in Babylon also highlights the importance of financial literacy.
Understanding how money works.
It's so crucial today with all the financial products and options out there.
You got to be able to make informed decisions. Understand things like budgeting, saving, investing, and managing debt. Take control.
But where do we even begin?
There's so many resources out there. Books, online courses, workshops. Talk to your bank, a financial advisor, even a friend or family member who understands finance.
Never be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly. The more you learn, the more confident you'll become. Speaking of experts, the richest man in Babylon keeps emphasizing getting advice from those who know. But is that still relevant today? We have the internet now. Can't we just Google everything?
Well, the internet is great, but remember, not all information is accurate.
Or reliable.
It can be tough to know what to trust.
That's where a financial advisor comes in. Someone who can give you personalized advice.
Help you navigate all the complexities.
Think of them as your financial guide.
Okay, but how do we find the right advisor?
Referrals are a good place to start. Ask people you trust. Check with professional organizations.
And don't be afraid to interview them.
Exactly. Ask about their experience, qualifications, fees. Make sure you feel comfortable with them. Make sure they understand your needs.
Like finding a doctor. You want someone you trust.
Exactly. Now let's talk about financial goals. The Richest Man in Babylon really emphasizes their importance. Having that clear vision for your financial future is key.
Without goals, it's easy to drift, make impulsive decisions.
Like going on a journey without a destination. You might end up somewhere, but will it be where you want to be?
Probably not. So, how do we set effective goals?
Make them SMART goals.
That's hard.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Instead of just saying, I want to save more money.
Be specific.
Exactly. Say something like, I want to save $10,000 for a down payment on a house within the next 2 years.
That's a clear goal.
Right. By being specific and setting a time frame, you're more likely to achieve it.
The Richest Man in Babylon also talks about delaying gratification, resisting those urges to spend, focusing on the long game.
So important, especially today when we're constantly bombarded with messages to spend, spend, spend.
It's about understanding that those small sacrifices today can lead to bigger rewards tomorrow.
Exactly, like choosing to invest your money instead of buying that new gadget.
It's about thinking about your future self.
Right, making choices that will benefit you in the long run.
And while The Richest Man in Babylon doesn't directly talk about philanthropy, it does stress using your wealth wisely.
Making a positive impact.
It's a good reminder that wealth can be a tool for good, giving back to your community, supporting causes you care about.
Using your resources to make a difference.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about luck. The Richest Man in Babylon acknowledges that luck exists, but it emphasizes not relying solely on it. Do you believe in luck?
I believe in being prepared. The characters in the book learn that luck favors those who are ready, those who take action and create opportunities.
So it's not about waiting for good things to happen, but about making them happen.
Exactly. Be proactive, develop your skills, network, be open to possibilities.
Create your own luck.
Exactly. Another crucial theme is perseverance. The Richest Man in Babylon reminds us that the road to financial success is rarely smooth. There will be bumps, challenges.
Times you might want to give up.
But anything worthwhile in life is rarely easy. Building wealth takes time. It takes effort. It takes a willingness to keep going, even when it's tough.
Don't give up.
Exactly. Have a growth mindset, learn from your mistakes, keep striving for improvement.
View those setbacks as opportunities to learn, adjust your course, and come back stronger.
Resilience is key. And speaking of resilience, The Richest Man in Babylon highlights the power of a positive attitude.
Your mindset plays a huge role. If you believe you can achieve your financial goals, you're more likely to make it happen.
It's all about your attitude.
Right. If you're constantly doubting yourself, focusing on the negative, you'll sabotage your own efforts.
That's exactly. Cultivate a mindset of abundance.
Believe in yourself.
Focus on the positive.
Yeah, we all make financial mistakes, right?
Of course, we're human. Nobody's perfect.
The key is to learn from those mistakes.
Right, absolutely. Don't let them define you. View them as learning experiences. Analyze what went wrong and do better next time.
Become a more savvy decision maker.
Exactly. Acknowledge your mistakes, learn, and keep moving forward.
The Richest Man in Babylon also shows us the value of mentors, seeking guidance from those more experienced.
Mentors can be invaluable. They offer support, encouragement, advice, and keep you accountable.
Sounds great, but finding a mentor can be tough. Where do we even start?
Look around you. Think about your personal and professional network. Who has achieved financial success? Who has expertise you admire?
So it could be someone we already know.
Exactly. A family member, a friend, a colleague, someone with a good grasp of finances. You can also join professional organizations, attend industry events.
Network.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to wait for someone to formally agree to be your mentor.
You can learn from anyone willing to share their knowledge.
Be open to learning, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
All right, last but not least, patience. The Richest Man in Babylon stresses that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
It takes time, effort, discipline, delaying gratification.
It's like planting a seed. You can't expect to see results overnight. You have to nurture it. Be patient.
Exactly. Have a long-term vision, stay committed, and ride out those ups and downs.
Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day.
And neither is financial freedom.
And while we're on that journey, it's important to enjoy the ride, right?
Absolutely. Building wealth is important, but it shouldn't come at the expense of living a good life. Find that balance.
Enjoy the present moment. Spend time with loved ones. Pursue your passions.
Exactly. Live a life of purpose. Don't let wealth rule your life. Let it enhance it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into The Richest Man in Babylon. We've uncovered so much wisdom from this book already, but there's still more ground to cover. As we've been going through all these principles, one thing that keeps popping up in my mind is debt. Debt's a huge issue today. So many people are struggling with it.
You're right. And it's interesting how The Richest Man in Babylon doesn't shy away from those harsh realities of debt. Remember Dabasir, the camel trader?
Oh, yeah, he was literally a slave because of his debt.
His story really hits home. Debt can be crippling. It can impact every part of your life.
But seeing how he took control and worked his way back, that was inspiring.
He faced his debts head on, made a plan, and stuck with it.
Even those baby steps, those small payments, they added up.
Little by little, he didn't try to run away. He owned up to it. And think about this. He even went back to those he had wronged, explained his situation, his plan to repay them, asked for their patience.
That was a powerful moment. It showed real character.
Rebuilding trust right alongside his financial stability.
Exactly. That human side of things often gets lost in modern conversations about debt.
It's not just about the numbers. It's about relationships, accountability, rebuilding that financial integrity.
It's a good reminder. Even when you're struggling financially, you can still choose to act with integrity.
Work towards a solution. Dabasir's story shows us it's possible, even when it seems impossible.
Absolutely. And remember those clay tablets with his meticulous records of every earning, every saving, and every debt payment.
His own little budgeting system, thousands of years ago.
Even back then, they understood the importance of trapping your money, setting goals, being accountable. Dabasir wasn't just hoping for the best. He was making it happen.
Exactly. And, the archaeologist who found those tablets, Alfred H. Shrewsbury, he used Dabasir's debt repayment plan to get himself out of financial trouble in the 1920s.
No way. Ancient wisdom to the rescue.
Proves these principles, they work, they're adaptable.
If they worked in ancient Babylon and in the 1920s,
They could work today, too.
The Richest Man in Babylon really is so compelling. It's not just a bunch of stories, it's a guidebook with timeless advice.
For anyone who wants to reach financial freedom.
It shows us financial success. It's not about luck. It's about understanding and applying these core principles.
Take control. Make smart decisions. Build good habits.
Imagine applying just one of these principles to your life today.
Even a small change can snowball over time. The journey of 1,000 miles.
Begins with a single step.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into The Richest Man in Babylon, think about what resonated with you the most.
The power of saving, the importance of investing, or maybe safeguarding your wealth.
Maybe it was the idea that hard work pays off, or taking responsibility for your financial situation. Whatever it was, think about how you can use it in your life today. This is just the start of your journey. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep reaching for that financial freedom you deserve. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive for another fascinating exploration of ideas that matter.